Welcome, everyone, to yet another edition of Conversations with Calcaterra. I have a great guest today, Curtis Wylde, professional wrestler, public servant. Just a wonderful conversation I really enjoyed. I want to thank Ben Sturgill. His song Drive starts the show out, and it's fitting in the fact that Curtis, with his professional wrestling, is on the road a lot, and now with his appointment to the Democratic National Committee, he's traveling a bit for that, and just the different things he's doing with politics. The road is, he's in his car a lot, so that's kind of the theme there, and just really fun conversation. And I've been a fan of professional wrestling since I was a kid in the Midwest, and working class family. That's just the kind of things that we watched, and theater in the squared circle. And I've had the opportunity to meet plenty of professional wrestlers throughout the years, and just some of the coolest people that I've ever met. Just really, salt of the earth type people, and just always willing to, wanting to entertain, and it's really, really good folk. But talking to Curtis today, and we talk a little bit about politics, and we talk about his professional wrestling career and how those two tie together. And at one point, we were talking about the Revolutionary War, which you'll hear, and I had mentioned King George III. He thought it was a second, so I was right in that case, but who's keeping tabs? Well, I guess me. But no, it's a good conversation. Curtis is a good dude. He's become a good friend, and just really enjoyed talking to him. Taking bumps in wrestling is hard on your body, and massage therapy is something that's good. That's Curtis has used, and chiropractic care can also help get that spine fixed after Curtis gives somebody a brain buster or a pile driver or body slam. So Dr. Mark Holland, if I was professional wrestling, I'd be going to Dr. Mark Holland more often and getting my spine adjusted. He can be found at chironrehab.com and mystlouischiropractor.com. So all you indie wrestlers in the area or wrestler traveling, anyone at his offices, 5 offices throughout the St. Louis metro area can help you out. I also mentioned Ben Sturgill's song earlier. Find him at bensturgill.com. He's doing a lot of great things, creating new singles, just amazing music. So super proud of what he's doing. And then, we talk about wrestling. Wrestling is, the belts are a big thing, and they're just, amazing pieces of art. I'd be interested to see what Kevin Blomenkamp could create, what kind of wrestling belt he would create. I'll have to talk to him. I don't know if he was a fan growing up or if he's a fan now, but definitely amazing in what he creates as in regards to metal. So, I'm going to have to mention that to him, see if he can, maybe he can create a personal strap, which is a wrestling term for the belt, for Mr. Curtis Wylde. So we also talk about literature. Curtis is pretty well read, and a few books that he recommends are on the show page, so check that out. And speaking of books, I recently read Molina, which is a book by Benji Molina, talking about how his father, his influence he had, just the lessons in life that he taught, and how this man raised 3 sons who went on to be Major League Baseball catchers. And so, it's just an amazing book, really inspiring, and how just Benji never gave up, and how he eventually made it to the major leagues, and just, his relationship with his father, and it was, I couldn't put it down. So definitely check that out, and who knows, maybe one day we can get Benji Molina on the podcast, so I'll have to try to figure out how to make that happen. Also want to thank Dale's Music. If you have any kids that want to learn music, or you yourself, Dale's has no age limit, and you can get your instruments fixed there, get your guitars repaired. Rent an instrument if you don't have one, so Dale's would be a good place to go for that, and you can find Dale's on the show page. So Curtis Wylde. Curtis was inspired by Bernie Sanders, and this is why he decided to run. And he says very clearly that he is a public servant, not a politician. So he ran for office, didn't make it, but gained some name recognition. You'll hear him talk about that, and how his opponent has tried to put the legislature forth to change some laws, and that'll keep Curtis from possibly utilizing that name recognition. So check out the conversation and hear about what's going on there. Just a really fun conversation, so I'm going to stop talking about it and let you listen to it. KenCalcaterra.com. Check me out on social media. Here he is, my buddy Curtis Wylde. All right, honored to have with me today volatile Curtis Wylde. What do you have to say, Curtis?
Hey, Ken Calcaterra, I appreciate you having me on the show. Lucky number 33, man. This is the 33rd show, right?
33rd, yeah. It's been fun, man. Good to talk to you, and we're talking a lot of different topics, but I want to start with professional wrestling. When did you get started as a professional wrestler?
Well, if you want to trim all the fat away, it was probably 5 or 6 years old. I just caught it on television, and it really bit me, and my grandparents started taking me to the arena or Kiel Auditorium. I don't remember exactly which one it was back at that time, but I got to see some live wrestling, and then ended up moving down to Horn Lake, Mississippi, just outside of Memphis, Tennessee, when it was a hotbed for professional wrestling, when Jerry the King Lawler was the king of Memphis. And I got to see that live. I was only about 20 minutes away from the television tapings that USWA had at the time, and I was able to take in all of that, check out the Mid-South Coliseum shows, which were their bigger shows, kind of at a Savage Center type of place, or Scott Trade now. Now it's Scott Trade. But
I don't even follow the names of all these. You know, they always change.
Yeah,
and
they
so
change.
It's just like wherever you know it as first. You know, the arena was at once the Checkerdome, which is kind of cool, but another corporate type thing. But these names change. Just look at a lot of the amphitheaters. Riverport, I still call it Riverport. For those in the St. Louis area, they know Riverport. Where now it's, I don't even know what it is now, like Hollywood Casino Amphitheater
Hollywood
or something. Yeah, it took a while to get used to.
Yeah, it's your corporate sponsor of the week. Whatever that is whoever's going to pay for the marquee is who's going to own the building and get that name recognition. But yeah, I just really enjoyed wrestling. I enjoyed the entertainment of it. I enjoyed the personal aspect of it. I mean, you were there, you were live, you got to see things that you'd never get to see on most movies or ever in the street or any of that. So
theater in the squared circle.
Absolutely. Those guys were amazing entertainers, and seeing a live professional wrestling show is unlike anything you'll ever see in your life. You've got to see it live, because when a man gets body slammed 10 feet away from you and you feel it and you hear it and you see the pain on his face, it's a whole different feeling than when you see a Vince McMahon show with all the glitz and glamour on television or pay-per-view. Yeah.
So what when you, in those early days, what was it that got you excited about it? Was it the physicality? Was it the moves? Or was it more the characters, the entertainment, the personas?
I think all of it. I think all of the above. Definitely the characters and personas really brings you in, but the physicality and the moves and the storylines and the richness of the characters, the deepness of the characters really kept you there. So that's one of the things that I really appreciated. A character like Kamala, the Ugandan giant. You know, you got this this guy who seems to be a beast from the deep jungles, and he's in a professional wrestling show in Tennessee, and you would never see anything like that. You would never think to see anything like that. I mean, these characters were created in front of you.
Yeah, in those days it was pre-internet, so one wouldn't really know, what they would know about the world maybe through encyclopedia. So you can't now. You're seeing videos from everywhere. You know that the world is really a much smaller place than it maybe have seemed 20 years ago or 30 years ago.
Yeah, well, now they have the access to information. That's why the curtain's kind of been pulled back on, the real fake debate on it, and the whether it's choreographed, whether it's predetermined, is all kind of out there, and people know that. But the thing with professional wrestling is that when you go see a professional wrestling show, you suspend your disbelief. You walk in, you cheer for the good guys, you boo the bad guys, or vice versa, if that's the type of person you are. But you get involved, and that's the thing, is that pro wrestling and the pro wrestling fans are kind of a family. So they all get involved, they all get to know each other, they all come to various shows in different places. I just did a show last Saturday night, and someone who was in the audience was actually in Sedalia when I won my seat on the DNC. When I was voted into the Democratic National Committee, that was the first time that he saw me on stage, and then he just saw me last Saturday night wrestling as the evil, hated, volatile Curtis Wylde in New Breed Wrestling down just outside of Springfield, Missouri. So it's weird how this kind of comes together.
Well, when you talk about suspension of disbelief, I mean, look at a show. I enjoy The Walking Dead, and you know that those aren't real zombies in the show, but you get into the drama of it, and I think it's the same with wrestling. And one thing that I want to make clear is it's not fake.
Right.
Because all the bumps that you guys are taking and all the physicality of it is very much real.
Right. I mean, you watch a match with a guy like John Cena, and you can hear him saying things really loudly. John Cena is really bad for that, calling things on television.
Not paying attention.
Not really paying attention to his volume levels, but they've already taken the curtain back. You already know that it's a show. Unfortunately, he should keep the volume down. John, keep the volume down, Mr. Cena. But when a guy sends you into the ropes, he may tell you, I'm going to kick you in the face. He's really going to try to kick your face off. If you let him, that's your fault. you know that boot is coming at your face. So if you get kicked in the face, it really hard, it's your own fault. You can control how hard you get kicked in the face if you're good at it.
And looking at that, I'm sure there's times, not everybody, I mean, what my experience, and I've worked back in the day, shot some videos for independent professional wrestling leagues. You got to say that 3 times fast. Yeah, it's a tough one. But and one of my prior guests, Brant Wilkins, he's now the proprietor of a bed and breakfast. The Captain, I'm getting. Let me go back. Rewind. In Herman, Missouri, Captain Walton. So yeah, check that episode out. But meeting these guys, a lot of them seem like, in the ring, total badasses. Some people are the sweetest people you meet. Others, have that persona outside of the ring. Do you find that? Is there any conflicts that you can talk? Have you had any? Any out of the ring conflicts that carried over, or how does that work, or is it one big happy family?
Well, a majority of that is conflicts with the family. I mean, of course, you have internal conflicts. There's probably more politics in professional wrestling than I've encountered in the Democratic Party or politics in general, running for state representative. Just the backstage drama, the backstage politics, guys trying to jockey for their position and jockey for their spot and this, that, and the other. But a lot of the conflicts that have spilled outside of the building are more just fans that are angry that want to fight me. So those are situations I've definitely had to deal with many times over the years. And sometimes it's fans that want to fight me during the shows, but that's what we have security for.
Interesting. So yeah, so you find the fans are more rambunctious than the performers.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Have you seen the video? The it's still real to me.
I have not.
Yeah. And can we cuss on this?
Yeah.
It's still real to me. Damn it. Have you seen that video where the guy's in tears? He's sitting in bleachers and they interview him and they're like, "Why are you so emotional?" And he's like, "You don't understand. It's still real to me. Damn it." And there are those fans, man. And that's the best part, are those fans that suspend disbelief so much that they know it's a show walking in, but while they're in there, it's real. They're part of it, and everything that's happening is legitimate. And that's the type of fans that we need more of, man, because those are the type of people that I want to entertain for.
The passionate fans.
Passionate fans, people who are driven by the emotion of the show, because that's why we're there. We're there to take them on an emotional roller coaster. We're there to take them on an emotional ride. And if we do our jobs right, they're going to go up, they're going to go down, they're going to feel happy, sad, angry. Regardless of how they feel, they're gonna feel emotion, and that's what draws people to professional wrestling. That's what drew me to professional wrestling.
Well, and I think at a wrestling show, it's kind of like somewhat similar to what the internet is now, with people on a lot of these web pages that say anything they want. Because I've seen, over the years, a handful of indie shows, and probably more than a handful, but a few professional shows. But I find people are really, they just let it go, and they're screaming, yelling, everything. And I guess my first live show was a WCW show back. A friend of mine had received some tickets for his birthday, and we went, and I think we were like maybe 8 rows from the ring, or I don't know, maybe even closer, but so close that next to me was this lady, and that was when you could smoke indoors in the arena. So this this lady's like chain smoking the whole night, and she's cursing all the wrestlers, and Ric Flair comes out and she's like, Ric Flair, you faggot, you know, like the like
that may have been my grandmother.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could be, if I do the math, I don't know how old this person was. I can't, you know, just thinking back, but she's screaming and yelling the whole time, and finally, and I don't know if this was, I think this was not part of his character, but he just got tired of it, and he turned and he looked at her and he goes, "Shut up, you fat hoe." And she shut the fuck up, man. She sat down and just like, and I think she even stopped smoking. So I was kind of like, Ric Flair, you're my hero. And of course, one of the biggest heels. But it was just, wow, man. Yeah, now I'm this chick's not blowing smoke in my face the whole time. And yeah, I mean, she was over the top. I mean, screaming F-bombs, everything else that you could. And it was just like, whoa, this is kind of insane. It was, I mean, part of the fun of it. But, you know, at that time, I wasn't screaming anything. I was just kind of the spectacle of it. And being that close to something that I had seen on TV was pretty damn cool.
Yeah, and all that glitz and glamour. And then, like I said, you saw the guy body slam another man from, 15, 20 feet away. And am I right? It's a whole different feeling than when you see it on television.
Yeah, and in the indie circuit, you feel that when they hit that ring. I mean, smaller venues, so you don't have all the people that are suppressing that sound.
Yeah, more intimate affair.
Yeah. So back Mid-South, those days, and did you watch? I mean, I think everybody in our age group probably watched, or most people watched WWF at the time. Yeah. And, I mean, WrestleMania and things like that. I mean,
oh, man, I did everything I could do to completely inundate myself with professional wrestling from as early as I possibly could. In St. Louis, we had the opportunity to have reruns of Wrestling at the Chase, and we'd be able to see WWF and NWA and Georgia, Mid-South. Some of these things were piped in with the Wild World of Wrestling. We'd be able to catch that. So we had a really rich wrestling community. And then I went to Memphis. They had a really rich wrestling community where, I mean, a lot of the wrestlers were from around there. So you may see wrestlers at gas stations and things of that sort. I actually went swimming with Jerry Lawler one time at a water park. I just so happened he was at the water park, and I latched onto him and didn't leave his side all day. By the end of the day, I got to wear his crown, I got to wear his cape, hold his title, which was the AWA title. But as far as I was concerned back then, it was the USWA Universal Championship, I believe, or the Undisputed title. It was one of those. It was a title that I believe Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig, Kerry Von Erich had merged, and then Jerry Lawler won it from, I believe, Kerry Von Erich. So it was the Undisputed title. That was the biggest title. And as far as my world was concerned, that was the biggest title in the world. That was the Universal title. So I got to hold that, and that's when I really knew that I wasn't going to do anything else until I went for my professional wrestling. So.
When you look at Jerry the King Lawler, I mean, the guy when everything merged, and then it became the WWF, now the WWE became the superpower. I mean, he's one of the top, as far as an announcer. Mm-hmm. I mean, he didn't really wrestle, I don't think, in the WWF.
Early on. Okay. I believe he won the King of the Ring. He had a feud with Bret Hart.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's right. That's right.
He did the ECW invasion where WWF guys came over to ECW and took over the show, and he was actually on ECW pay-per-view.
As a wrestler?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess my memory has faded because I guess I see him more as an announcer now because he's done such an amazing job as an announcer.
And it's because he's such a great character. Yeah. He's got charisma, just oozing out of his pores. So he can do that transition, go down to Memphis, Tennessee. And back then he would go down to Memphis, Tennessee and call out Macho Man or call out The Rock, who was Flex Cavana at that time before he really made the transition onto the big stage. And they would have these feuds going on down there. And then he would be able to be taken seriously in the Memphis area and then be this kind of joke character on Vince McMahon's WWF Raw, or WWE now.
Yeah, interesting. And speaking of wrestling for you, it's a family business, correct?
Well, my wife is my valet, so she walks me to the ring, and she does everything she can do to watch my back, which means she cheats for me constantly. You never know exactly what she's going to have in her purse. She's been known to have powder. She's been known to have the Oriental salt. She's been known to have foreign objects, handcuffs, chains. You name it, she does what she's got to do to protect her investment.
That's great. That's great. So the powder, so you're blowing powder in people's face. You're blinding them so you can blindside them and take them down.
I got to do what I got to do to win, man.
Right.
I got to stay on top. Take me to the pay window.
All right. So being on top, have you held a strap in your league?
Not the one that I'm not the ones that I'm in currently. I did take 4 or 5 years off from wrestling to get married, and my wife and I had a baby. Our wonderful daughter, Phoenix Rain. She's unbelievably awesome. So then when we kind of got parenthood figured out, I decided to get back into the ring. Chrissy came with me. She was already my valet before. She had already been trained to pro wrestling and had a pro wrestling match.
Oh, so you met her through wrestling?
Well, I met her through wrestling, but it wasn't until we met that she really kind of started picking it up and, wanting to get involved and do some of it herself. I actually met her through a wrestling friend of mine, Tristan Hayes, in Chicago. I was doing a lot of traveling at the time. I was doing a lot of triple shot weekends, which is 3 shows in a weekend, which was usually 3 states in a weekend. So like Wisconsin, Indiana, Missouri, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I was coming back through Wisconsin on a Saturday night. I had a show in Missouri on a Sunday, and I called Tristan Hayes and said, "Hey, let me take you out for dinner, get you something to eat, and we'll catch up." And his wife, or his fiance at the time, happened to be going to high school with who would later become my wife. So they were like, you got to meet this redhead. You got to meet this redhead. And then I did, and the rest is history.
So she lived up in Chicago?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She's a transplant from Chicago. She grew up in the Bensonville area, just outside of O'Hare, and she moved here from New Lenox, Illinois, just outside of Joliet.
Okay, gotcha. So now you're working together. You're in tandem. We're working. What league is it that you're involved in?
My main home fed is Southern Illinois Championship Wrestling, which is Larry Matisick and Herb Simmons, the right hand and the left hand of Sam Munchnick, who ran Wrestling at the Chase. Larry Matisick was the voice of Wrestling at the Chase, the guy that you always saw with the microphone, doing the interviews, doing the commentary, and the guy that you still hear on some of the reruns that we have on our television show, Charter Channel 198, every Sunday. But what's interesting about it is that you've got so much history there, but they keep bringing in all this new talent. So they're really trying to move with the times and evolve as things move on. I also work for New Breed Wrestling. We just debuted there Saturday. And that's basically what some of the guys from World League Wrestling, Harley Race's organization, stayed down in the area that Harley Race was in, the Eldon, Missouri area, and they run in Fairgrove, Missouri. They're going to have a show in Chillicothe. We're going to be there. May 6th, we'll be in Chillicothe, Missouri. May 27th, I believe, we will be in Eldon, Missouri. And I got a big show coming up this Saturday at our home fed, Southern Illinois Championship Wrestling, SICW, and that's going to be the 15th, April 15th. April 29th, I believe we're going to be in Millstadt, Illinois with SICW. So we keep busy, we're all around, and there's a number of organizations. I've wrestled for over 30 different organizations. I've wrestled in 6 different states, and I've wrestled on television in Illinois, Indiana, Chicago, Indianapolis, St. Louis, and Kansas City. I almost started to name off all the states I've wrestled in.
In one weekend?
Sometimes in one weekend, man. At least, 2 or 3 of them I've done in one weekend. I've done a TV taping in Chicago and then popped down to Indianapolis for a TV taping in Indianapolis. Things like that. And right now we do TV tapings once a month at our facility in East Carondelet Community Center.
Yeah. And is it, the indie circuit, is it possible to make a good living with that, or do you have to diversify your income?
Have to diversify for the most part, man. If you're not one of the big names that gets covered a lot in the magazines, and if you are one of those big names, you probably got a contract with one of the at least mid-level companies that are paying a salary. But for the most part, these guys are out here, grinding, promoting, self-promoting, building brands, and they're doing it for little to nothing. Luckily, I do a little better now than I did in years gone by. I know that there were times that, I would go to 3 states in a weekend and sleep in White Castle parking lots, after the after party for a few hours, and then I'd head to the next show, make the next town, do it all over again. So that grind really didn't see me make a financial
So it's a passion as an entertainer.
Passion as an entertainer, man. You're not going to make a lot of money at it, but that's just like politics. Like if you become a millionaire in politics, you're not doing it right. But if you become a millionaire in professional wrestling, you're 1% of 1% that did it right. And got that right wave.
Yeah. It's just like any entertainment type thing, whether it be an actor, a director. I mean, it's. With the freelance I do, I'm diversifying. I think anymore in this day and age, there's so much competition that you have to do some different things. I'm trying to think what book. I've been listening to a lot of a podcast by this guy, Tim Ferriss. Mm-hmm. And then he talks about different books and whatnot. So then I'm reading all these different things. And this one of the authors, I think might have been a blog that he directed to, was saying, like, if you can do 3 things, you can either do one thing and be in that top 1% or 10% or whatever it is for success, or whatever that definition is, or you can do 3 things and be in like the top 25%, and then kind of diversifying. So yeah, there's I think that's what has to happen in this day and age. Yeah,
that definitely has to happen in this day and age. Unfortunately, it takes away from some of the focus that is required for certain things, like with running for office. I kind of lost a little bit of my focus with the DJ company, doing wedding receptions, school dances, corporate events. Didn't hustle as hard doing that because I was running for state representative. So like Will Smith says, if you have a plan B, it takes away from plan A. But you're right. You do have to diversify in today's day and age because we have access to information, we have access to technology, and we can diversify. You can be somebody who has a podcast and also writes books, or a politician that also has a podcast or their own web show, or, but it all goes hand in hand. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, a lot of the things that I do go hand in hand.
Well, we'll jump back to wrestling and talk a little bit about. I want to get your views on the current WrestleMania. But you recently had some good press in the Huffington Post. Why don't you tell the listeners about that?
Yeah, Daniel Moran's wrote an article about me for the Huffington Post, and it was published a couple of weeks ago. So if you guys want to check that out, I think it's entitled "Democrats Finally Have a Pro Wrestler in Their Corner."
And I'll put a link. You can give me that link. I'll put it on the show description so they can check that out.
Very cool. Very cool. He also, in doing research for that article, Daniel's producer or editor decided that they wanted to also have a companion video with it. So they put out a companion video, embedded it in the article first, and then put out the companion video, and that got 65,000 plus views.
Nice.
So that was pretty cool.
That should be your next Tough Enough audition tape.
Well, those didn't do bad. I think they got 3,000 to 5,000 views between the two.
Well, maybe now you have the HuffPost. Vince McMahon will take you more serious.
Yeah.
Whoever produces that.
Although I think I just had a birthday.
Uh-oh.
I stopped aging at 30, and I decided that I was going to start upgrading. So at 30, I became Curtis 3.0, a whole new system with all the problems of the old one. Now I'm at Curtis 3.7 as of a couple days ago. So I don't think that my body's prepared for the schedule that Vince McMahon makes those guys keep. And I don't think I'd want it to be. I think I could come in handy in a Paul Heyman role as maybe a microphone or someone that gets the monster over, that can be that manager. I think I would do well in commentary or play-by-play. But
so you're transitioning. Your role is transitioning.
Yeah, I'd really like to get involved in creative as well. So Vince McMahon, if you got a spot in creative, let's talk, because fans are starting to see some stale things going on, man. Let's pick it up a step.
Yeah, definitely. No, when we were watching, I was watching WrestleMania with this buddy of mine, Jeremy Correa. He had a birthday, so every year that's around that time. So he gets a group of people together for WrestleMania, and he's a creative as well, and he works for currently Cool Fire Studios. So he's developing all kinds of digital content and just amazing things. So hopefully we'll get him on the podcast sooner than later. But
I know somebody else that works there, DJ D Mega, Dan Pisciotti.
Oh, I think I'm Facebook friends. But,
yeah.
But so looking at politics, how does professional wrestling, those skills you learn, translate into politics?
Man, you would be shocked at how well professional wrestling prepares you for the world of politics. Because any professional wrestler knows that you're going to have trolls. You're going to have haters. And they are top level, grade A, master level haters in professional wrestling. The political haters, novices in comparison, man. Novices. And most of them can't hold a debate, if they really want to come after it. So, you just meet people on the issues, and a lot of times they get lost. But professional wrestling, just the aspect of being a shameless self-promoter, being someone who is going to grind and create that brand for themselves, really help prepare for politics, because you have to do that. You have to brand yourself. You have to create, your public entity, and then you have to take it to the doors, and you have to sell people on it. And it's kind of the same thing as professional wrestling. You have to sell. So it's very much the same. And there are entertainment aspects that are involved in politics. You have to captivate your audience. You have to keep them passionate about what you're talking about. If an audience gets boring, I don't care how important the issue you're talking about is, you're going to lose them. You're going to lose their passion. They're not going to walk out of that room wanting to get to work on what you're talking about. So I think that pro wrestling's really prepared me for people to leave and be ready to get going and be ready for that next show or that next canvas or that next phone bank. So it's really kind of went hand in hand and prepped me.
Yeah, and I think looking into and sharing with the audience, the listeners, why you decided to get into politics. I think the question that's fitting is what is the importance of having citizen representatives in this day and age?
Absolutely important. I think that our representatives have shown up until this point that they're not willing anymore to represent the people. I think Citizens United had a lot to do with that, getting money in politics. But if we're going to represent ourselves, this is why I got into politics. If not us, who? If not us, who? People are out there making decisions for us. They're making decisions for our families. And if we don't step up and try to get a seat at that table, our families don't have representation. Regular people aren't being represented.
Wait, you can't afford lobbyists, Curtis?
Well, I guess if enough of us came together and a collective action, went outside of a building and occupied, then we could lobby on our own. But we don't have unlimited money.
Power of the people. But I think what you're definitely what you're getting at. I'm just trying to be funny here, but hey, man. Mm-hmm. But no, looking at that, we you have these lobbyists that are representing corporations or people with money, and then it kind of our current representation, isn't listening to the citizens because their ear is to those with money, and I think it's if you look at it both. And that's a bipartisan issue, really, because, most of the politicians are controlled by someone else. So looking at it...
unfortunate?
Yeah, more as an independent and looking at people having their voice.
Yeah. Well, people need to have their voice, and if our representatives aren't reflecting what you want, what you desire, and what you feel needs to happen for society, then you need to step up and make it happen, because nobody's going to do it for you. And I figured that out somewhere along the way, and an old, 70-year-old Jewish man told me that nobody's going to do it for you. If you want a political revolution, it's going to have to be from the bottom up, and you are going to have to do it. Not me, us. So when you look at the political spectrum right now, you see a whole lot of corporatists on, like you said, both sides. So it's not about party anymore. It's about people. And you have to make sure that the people representing you are willing to represent you, and not the big moneyed interests that have gotten them in their seat. Take my race, for example. I got 36% with $6,000. My opponent raised $77,000 himself, and a PAC spent over $30,000 on a negative mailer against me. I was against over a $100,000 campaign with $6,000, and I got 36% of the vote. My opponent bought his seat. There is no way around it. He bought his seat. He was bought and paid for before he ever got there. He even was willing to tell voters, I'm going to vote with whatever the party tells me to vote. I'm going to vote with my party. I'm going to vote with the people. And I made sure I tried to tell as many people as I could that. I hit over 6,000 doors myself. I got 7,200 plus votes. Every person that I talked to voted for me, plus over 1,200 people. I'm doing it again. I can't outspend him, but I can outwork him. And I'm going to, because I want that seat, because the people in District 107 deserve representation. And they deserve representation for the people, of the people, and by the people, from one of them, because someone who's never understood struggle is not going to be able to represent people who struggle. And that's why I'm here.
Yeah, so I see your passion and see just the raw emotion, and I think it's coming through on the mic. But yeah, if the audience is looking in your eyes, man, I can definitely see it. But and with that, and I think part of your success, I mean, really, is an uphill battle. Well, let me step back for a minute. So you ran as a Democrat in an area that's primarily Republican, and
it's called a GOP safe zone.
So and you had success, and I think part of that, explain how. I guess the question is, you consider yourself more of an independent, but you ran as a Democrat. So how did that affect success? Maybe not getting the seat. What was? I mean, explain that whole.
I think that there was a Trump-nomy. I think that there was a wave of Trumpism that hit this country, and especially in Missouri, when Hillary Clinton lost by 19% at the top of the ballot, it's going to be extremely difficult for any Democrat to pull it off in Missouri. Democrats lost almost across the board. I think we only won like 2 or 3 seats in the entire state, and we lost everything else. Over half of the seats were uncontested. So if we don't give them a fight, then they're walking in there with basically unlimited money from their lobbyists, from their corporate donors, from their puppet masters, and people are not even in their equation when it comes to that.
Well, and I think you can say the same thing for established Democrats, because they have a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
So I think what we're looking at, and I guess my question is, you consider yourself more of an independent, but you ran as a Democrat because really in our current political environment, is it possible for someone to win as an independent? I mean, there's very few with that name recognition.
I don't even know if I call myself an independent. I don't know what I call myself. I'm just like anybody else, man. I don't like labels. I don't like labels. The fact is I am me, and I'm going to do the best job I can do. The job isn't to be a Democrat or a Republican. The job is a state representative. Your job is to represent the people. Keep your ears open, your mouth shut, pay attention to what people want, what people need, and then act upon their behalf, act upon their will. That's your job. It's not to be a Democrat or a Republican, and it's not to vote for your corporate interest or the big money interest. Your job is to represent the people to the best of your ability. So this isn't for me about being a Democrat or a Republican. Yeah, I took Bernie's path. Bernie showed me the path, showed everybody the playbook. He opened it up. He said, if you want change, we're in a duopoly. We're in a 2-party oligarchy. If you don't pick a side, you don't get to play the game. If you don't pick a team, you're not going to get on the field. He showed everybody. And when I saw that and he said, look, I can't do this by myself. I'm going to need help. I was one of the first ones, raised my hand, stood up and said, you're right. You're right. Real people have to step up and represent real people, or we're just going to have same as we always had. And he said, enough is enough. I'm saying enough is enough. I'm tired of, bending to the will of corporations and big money interest and lobbyists. It's time for the people to rise up. It's time for the people to have a voice again. And it's going to take regular people standing up and saying, look, I don't have any strings on me. I'm ready to be here for you.
Very nice. And that's what, when I say independent, I know when I was, helped you canvass a few times, that was one of the things I found. You were able to chat with a lot of the people about different issues. So it wasn't just you were like, oh, my issues are all with one party. So that's why I say independent thinker. You have your experiences in life. You have those issues that you feel are important. And then that's what impressed me about you, is that you were able to discuss that with people, even though you didn't have, not every view that you had was in agreement with them. But I think the fact that you were able to speak to them about it and have an intelligent conversation is what won over a lot of people that probably normally, if they saw just that placard or saw your name, Curtis Wylde, which stretches the realm of politics, but Democrat, by you talking to those people and being there and having that conversation, I think that's what really solidified you as that citizen representative.
Well, what they saw was someone that was willing to break the perception that you could judge a book by its cover. Someone that was willing to step out there and look like I just stepped out of a Sons of Anarchy episode or out of a professional wrestling ring and still be able to speak on the issues intelligently. My opponent was an attorney, and the Lindenwood Democrats, Lindenwood College, shout out to my Lindenwood Democrats there, my young Dems. But they tried to work with the young Republicans and work out a debate, and he wouldn't debate me. He absolutely refused to debate me. I said, look, I'm a professional wrestler. You're a lawyer. This should be a walk in the park for you. This should be easy, right? But he just couldn't touch me on the issues, and he knew it.
And I think, we talked about, situation with Trump, whether, I'm not particularly a fan, but, I don't need to add to the vitriol. But looking at that,
I despise that man, just to let you know.
Yeah, I guess I'm in the boat there. I'm not.
I hated him well before he ran for president, though. So
definitely not. And I voted. I'll vote Republican if there's the right candidate. I didn't feel he's the right candidate. I think he's a con man, and there's a lot of people that I know I'm close friends with that I guess you could say are buying into what he's selling, which I just think that it's kind of a crock. But, hey, we won't get too far into that.
Well, to trim it all away, I think
fire.
A vote for Donald Trump was an act of domestic terrorism.
Definitely, man. Throw it out there, baby. Throw it out there. But looking at that, no, we have but I think what brought him, you had said, there is that public thirst for not the career politician. And I think that was the problem with Hillary Clinton's campaign, was that she was I think she was the poster child for career politicians, and that's just not what the public wanted. Wherein Bernie started out, no name recognition.
3%.
And then look where he is now.
Right.
Just look what he became at the end of that, and of course he was
basically leading the Democratic Party as an independent from outside the Democratic Party. He's the leader of Democratic Party outreach, and he's basically their poster child right now. So to all those people that want to say Bernie isn't a Democrat, he's more of an FDR Democrat than most of the corporatists out there calling themselves Democrats while voting as Republicans.
But we look at that, and that's the thing where I think with your campaign and the comparison, and a lot of people that ran that grassroots style, slowly they built it up by connecting with the people. And I think you can say that, Trump connected with his people. But when you look, and maybe there's some grassroots non-corporate Republicans that have done it, but I think that comparison is when Bernie started out back in the day, he lost a bunch of elections, but now, you've built up that first round of name recognition. So now the next time you do it, people are, I know this Curtis Wylde guy. So hopefully that momentum will carry over.
Let me touch on that real quick. One of the first pieces of legislature that my opponent tried to put through, and he's still trying to put it through, was and my real name is Curtis Wells. My show name is Curtis Wylde. That's all anybody knows me as. You can Google the other name. You're not going to pull up anything. Curtis Wylde is the only identity I have.
Is this a conversation with Calcaterra exclusive?
No, not necessarily.
Son of a bitch.
I've never.
God damn.
I've never hid it whatsoever. But everybody knows me as Curtis Wylde. To the point where when my wife and I got married almost 7 years ago, her family gave us gifts as Mr. and Mrs. Curtis and Chrissy Wylde. So, I mean, that's literally all anybody knows me as. But one of the first things he tried to do was ensure that no one with a show name or anything other than their legal or maiden name could put their name on the ballot. So he tried to prevent me from running as Curtis Wylde. So either I'm going to get it in before the date where have ballot access as Curtis Wylde, or we're going to legally change our names because there's nothing he can do to touch me, and I'm going to show him that.
Well, maybe that's an exclusive. You're going to legally change. I need something here, man. Give me something.
We're most likely going to legally change our names.
Okay, all right. That's first. You've heard it first here. If you listen, it's the podcast, though. They could listen to it a year from now, and then they've heard it somewhere else. But we're stamping this right now. Give me that endorsement, Curtis.
You got it, man. You got it.
But
ladies and gentlemen, Emmy Award-winning documentarian.
Oh, thank you. Yes,
Calcaterra.
But yeah, no, it's interesting, and just the fact. I mean, I guess people should know why you want to represent. Is it because you want to get rich?
Like I just said, man, if you get into politics or if you get out of politics and you're rich, you either got bought off, you sold out your people, or you did something wrong. The highest office in the land is the president of the United States. The guy's only making $400,000 a year. So if you're walking out of a state Senate seat as a millionaire, somebody paid you off. Somebody bought you off. You were in somebody's pocket the whole time, and it definitely wasn't the people, because they're not going to be able to afford your interest and your needs. They're trying to make ends meet, and they're trying to make sure they got food on the table next week and electricity on. By the way, I just want to touch on this. I don't want to ever be called a politician. To me, politician, the word politician is like holy water on a vampire. Like that, it's just dirty to me. Just like consultant, dirty to me. So if I do get the fortune of having an elected position where I am representing the people, other than the positions I already have inside the Democratic Party, I'm a public servant. I don't ever want to be called a politician. Public service is what we need. And if we had more public servants, we wouldn't have so many problems in our society.
Yeah, looking at when you were canvassing, and that's one thing, you were able to talk to the constituents about different issues. And one of the things, you're a guy that likes to shoot and believes in the Second Amendment, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, if we had more people, more law-abiding citizens walking around with training, with registration, just like an automobile, then I think we would have far less crime. I think that's provable in the areas that's the case. I do think that we need to be responsible gun owners. If we're going to be gun owners, we need to be responsible gun owners. When they wrote that law, or when they wrote the Constitution, our right to bear arms wasn't for hunting, because if you didn't hunt, you didn't eat. It was to protect yourself from a government that was, getting out of hand. So
the tyrannical government.
A tyrannical government.
King George III.
Exactly.
Was it the third?
Second.
Okay.
I believe it was second.
We'll have to look back on. It's not a history show.
And that's another thing. Like, people try to test me on some of these facts. I never claimed to be a historian. I never claimed to be a political science major. I'm just a regular person that's going to learn as I go. And the best thing I can do is keep an open ear to represent people to the best of my ability. So I don't know how to do this, but I am willing to learn.
Very cool. And a lot of it is, listening. And I think a lot of times, and people that are established don't listen as much. And that as we know,
no, they listen. They just listen to the wrong people. Yeah. They listen to whoever is going to keep them in office because that's what's making them money. That it's within their best interest to keep their job, right?
Well, it didn't really work for the Democratic Party. It didn't work for Hillary Clinton.
That's true.
Otherwise, maybe history would be different, and Bernie would be the guy. Who knows? You can't look back. But as far as you're looking at, one story that I think you should tell, which is great. Tell the audience about when you, at the Missouri Democratic Convention, how you stormed the stage. That's a proper way. I think you somewhat stormed the stage when everybody else was in the back. And tell that story. It's great.
Well, in order to tell that story properly, I'm going to have to rewind to, I think, 4 days before that.
Rewind.
About 4 days before that, we got word as the Bernie delegation of Missouri. Bernie and Hillary split the state by about 50%. It was 0.2% difference. So we got word that the Hillary delegation had turned down an offer from the Bernie delegation we were going to be voting at the state convention 4 members to the DNC, 4 elected members, 2 men, 2 women. And the Hillary delegation had turned down an offer from the Bernie delegation to put up a man and a woman on our side, a man and a woman on their side, and just call it even, no floor fight, no problem.
Yeah, which seems to be the way. That's representing the people. That's looking at the numbers,
Seemed to be pretty even. They said no. They said, we'll see you on the floor. So we phone banked. We canvassed our own delegates. And did everything we could do to get as many of our Bernie delegates to the convention as possible because the vote actually had to take place on the floor. So if people didn't show, they couldn't vote. They threw out a call to action and said, if you want to be on the DNC from the Bernie delegation, let us know. You're going to have to fill out this vetting paperwork and send it in. Filled out the vetting paperwork, sent it in, hadn't heard anything. All the way up, and this was about 4 days before, hadn't heard anything all the way up until the morning of the state convention, where our Bernie delegation had a pre-convention meeting to decide.
I was there, yeah.
You were there, and to decide who they were going to nominate. I hadn't heard anything on the vetting paperwork, so I didn't think that they had chosen me. So my wife and I, as we usually are stylishly late? Is that the
fashionably
late? Fashionably late. That's right. We're fashionably late. We were about 20 minutes late. And when I walked in, Rob O'Connell, veteran Rob O'Connell, who was one of our Bernie delegates, grabbed me by the arm and he said, "Get your on stage." I said, "Why?" He said, "Just get on stage. Get on stage now." Rushed me to the stage. I get on stage. I look at the person next to me. I said, "Why am I here?" They said, "Oh, you're on the DNC." I said, "Huh?" They're like, "Oh, well, you're part of our delegation. We're going to vote for you to be on the DNC."
You were one of our nominees.
Yeah, so she explained it to me. I was like, "Wow, all right, cool." So then we go on later in the show. The numbers were released. We had 143 more delegates, I believe was the number.
Something like that,
134 maybe. So we knew we had the numbers, but I also knew that not very many people in that room knew who I was. So I didn't know how much support the other men had on the Hillary side from the Bernie delegation because I didn't know hardly any of them. That was the first time, as you know, that many of us were meeting in person. So I didn't know that I had it locked. I wasn't positive that we were going to win. I didn't know how it was going to go. So I let everyone else speak from the middle of the room. I don't know why they started giving them the mic in the middle of the room while there was a stage.
Well, he was in the back of the room. Yeah, I guess it was the middle of the room, but I was sitting in the front, so I had to turn around.
Mm-hmm. So they basically put everyone else in the round. As you know.
Well, even the people in the back, those people were facing their back. So being in the middle of the room was crazy. If you're in the front, you have to turn around. Mm-hmm. If you're in the back, you're looking at their back. It was bizarre.
So the one thing that I knew is that as soon as I got the microphone, I was going to hit the stage. I didn't know what I was going to say. I didn't know where we were going with it, but I knew that when I got the microphone, I was going to hit the stage because that's where people needed to be to speak. And then everyone else kept speaking from the middle of the room, and there was a little bit, you want to go, and I'd let everyone else go first because, I didn't want to change it up and then have to go back to the middle of the room and let them finish out, So I took the mic, and it was basically the end of the day. I went up there and gave a rousing Bernie Sanders-like speech, Bernie Sanders-esque speech that really got the crowd pumped. Even some of the Hillary delegation were cheering. And as I understand later, they also voted for me. Some of the Hillary delegation voted for me as well. So it wasn't just the Bernie delegation. So that was nice to see, a little unity that day. But as a little aside, and this is an exclusive because nobody really knows this, Jackson Thompson, who ended up being my treasurer for my state representative run, but was also basically the chair of the Bernie delegation that day, handled the hosting on our side, and the voting for the at-large delegates and things like that. He oversaw the counting of the votes for the DNC members, and he walks by me, and he's got this really sad face, and he goes, "I'm sorry, Curtis. I did all I could." I said, "It's cool, man. I didn't expect to win." And then they threw our names up there, and I won. I looked at him, and I said, "I'm going to kick your ass."
No,
that ain't right, man.
That's very cool, man.
And then my wife runs over and starts crying, and then it finally sunk in. I had just won a national seat in the Democratic Party kind of by accident. And that was very similar to when I won a seat on the state committee. I'm also on the state committee. And that was a situation where I was going to nominate Jackson Thompson to the state committee. And we show up the day of when we were going to have that voting, the structuring. And I look at Jackson as I'm walking in. I said, "I'm going to nominate you, right?" And he said, "No, I'm moving to Florida." I said, "Oh, so what are we going to do today?" And he's like, "I don't know. We'll just kind of, roll with it when we get inside." We go inside, and there was about 10 people there. And I look over at my wife. I was like, "Well, if Jackson's not running, you can nominate me if you want to." And she nominated me, and I won. So, yeah, I've got to go down the line. I'm the chairman of Legislative District 107, Legislative District 103, the vice chair of Senatorial District 2, St. Charles County Committee man for the St. Peters Township, State Committee man representing Senatorial District 2, and National Committee man in Missouri.
Wow, and you're able to keep all that together? The meetings are, it's all manageable?
Well, and there's a lot of meetings. Mm-hmm. That's how that usually goes. But I'm, going to all those meetings, but I'm also trying to get to even more meetings and some of the other like-minded organizations that are mobilizing around the issues that are important to everyone. So I'm been really busy. Just like this last weekend, I went down and went to the training for Jobs for Justice at the Jackson Days event in Springfield, Missouri. Left there, went to a professional wrestling show, did my thing at the professional wrestling show. The next morning, woke up, had breakfast, killed the ride from Springfield to Missouri, went to Corey Bush's event Sunday, and from there, my wife had some massages, and I had a meeting at a venue, and we're going to be bringing professional wrestling to just off of Main Street, St. Charles.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I love Main Street St.
That's an exclusive.
Man, I can't even speak today, man.
That's an exclusive. Main Street, St. Charles is a phenomenal place.
Such a charming area. Yeah, definitely. Let me know when that is. I'll help
looking
you.
At September.
Throw it out there, and I'll come check that out. It sounds awesome.
Looking at September.
But do you feel one last politics question, and then we'll get back to wrestling to wrap it up. But do you feel, so as a member, you went to Atlanta as far as the DNC is concerned?
Yeah.
I mean, do you feel that as a regular guy, as that representative, that you, on that level, you're able to make a difference on the committee, or is it too many of the corporate type people?
Well,
or does it matter what the policy is? Just
judging from the votes, before I got there, I was being told that the DNC was about 25% progressives, which is basically Bernie people. That's what a lot of people call progressives, even though you don't have to be a Bernie person to be considered progressive. It's all about the ideals. It's all about the issues. But when I got there, the vote was almost even, and then for the chair, it was 200 to 235. Tom Perez did win, but I mean, we're right at that threshold. We're right around that 50% mark of, people that realize that these progressive ideals are what America wants, and people that are still kind of holding on to ideals that may have lost us elections.
And give an example, so some of the listeners may not know what a progressive ideal is. What were some examples?
Fully funded education, universal health care, collective bargaining, a strong middle class, income equality, social justice, is sustainability. All of these things. We need to figure out how to work our society to take care of all people to the best of our ability. And if we have a for-profit pharmaceutical industry and insurance industry, then the people aren't going to get the care that they need because there's too many people worrying about putting profit before people. And we got to put people before profit. We got to put Main Street before Wall Street, or we're not going to have the society that we could have. We're not going to do as good of a job as we could do here in America if we don't get behind some of these ideals. Luckily, if you don't have that socialist anchor put on it, or the Democrat or Republican label, most of America polls that they agree with Bernie Sanders' issues. They agree with Bernie Sanders' platform, which are the progressive issues that we're talking about. Putting, like I said, people before profit, Main Street before Wall Street, and a government that's for and by the people. An interesting story before we go out. A lot of people see the DNC members as, maybe the elite. Maybe all of them have money, things like that. So far, I've went to 2 DNC meetings. One of them was Philadelphia. It was the day after the convention in Philadelphia. And one of them was in Atlanta just this last month. And I had to crowdfund to get to both of them. I had to crowdfund for my flight, hotel, all that good stuff. And I was probably the only DNC member that slept on a floor in a hotel room both occasions. Point another DNC member that did that, and I'll buy you a coffee. But the fact is that there is a new breed of DNC members that are coming up that aren't these corporatists, that aren't the elite, that aren't rich, that are just regular people. And there's a huge push, not only within the DNC, but within the Democratic Party and within, the whole political landscape of regular people saying enough is enough. We're taking this thing back and saying no to the status quo.
Gotcha. So you're not saying that profit is bad?
No, I'm not saying profit is bad. I'm saying we have to put people before profit. See, my dad was a hardcore Republican, but he was also one of the first managers for Federal Express. And his managerial mindset, his thought process when it comes to being a manager was people, service, profit, which was a little bit at odds with his Republican thought processes. But that's what I always took from him was people, service, profit. But people first. They will provide a good service for you, whether it's in business or whether it's in your society. And then you will have a profit, whether it's a monetary profit or whether you've profited off of the investments you've made in your community. To me, that's a profit. To me, I don't understand why we're still having the debate on universal health care and fully funded education, because that's an investment. That's an investment. And if you want to boil it down to just dollars and cents, that's a huge investment that we're making in the future of our country to make sure that our next generations will be healthy and well-educated. And a healthy, well-educated society is a powerful thing.
Right on, man. Right on. And you look at with like automation that's coming through, this everything with robotics, and at some point we're going to lose a lot of jobs.
We're going to have to. We are going to have to. And people are always talking about creating jobs. Shouldn't our jobs be to create less work for humanity? I mean, in the end, when it all boils down, if you stop looking at just the dollars and cents, that should be our job. So if there's automation that's coming through that's going to take jobs away from people, maybe we need to start considering a basic income, a universal basic income like other countries have. But the fact is that if we don't allow this automation to come in, we're stifling innovation, we're stifling improvements in our society, and we cannot do that in the name of profit.
Gotcha. But even with that, when your healthcare is tied to your job and you don't have a job, what do you do? And I know a
You
lot of truck
pass
drivers.
laws and you get in legislators and senators that will pass universal health care.
No, I get it. But most people that say, well, hey, I'm covered. I have a job now. But if you have 3 million truck drivers that aren't going to have a job, and then you need to get your representatives to have that.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I agree.
I look at something like the Venus Project, and we're not quite there yet, but I think we need to start making moves to get towards a society that does away with money, that becomes a resource-based economy. The Venus Project is something that Jacques Fresco came to out of meetings with Buckminster Fuller, out of meetings with Albert Einstein. He did lunch with both of those guys, and I was fortunate enough to do lunch with Jacques Fresco.
Albert Einstein? Oh.
No, not that old yet, man. Don't let the hair fool you. I know I got a lot of gray up here, but he did lunch with Albert Einstein, Buckminster Fuller. I was fortunate enough myself and my wife were fortunate enough to do lunch with him and Roxanne Meadows and learn about the Venus Project and learn how if we use the resources of our planet intelligently for all the needs of all mankind, we can do away with money and live a life that, Star Wars or Star Trek, had it really close to what we could be doing if we stopped worrying about, the profit structures and the corporate, and even a certain aspect of the level of ownership. Everybody's got to feel ownership over something. Ownership. And the Venus Project says, well, let's make, the very best lawnmower that we can possibly make, maybe a diamond blade. And then you don't have to keep that lawnmower in your garage. It can be delivered to your house. You can cut your lawn, put it back on the trailer, it takes it away. And then your neighbor can do the exact same thing. It's like checking out the very best lawnmower.
Like at a library. Going to the library.
Exactly right. It's resource centers. Mm-hmm. We would have resource centers, and you could order a lawnmower on your app on a phone.
Yeah.
Because
I really don't need to own a lawnmower, but I need to cut my grass.
Exactly right. And nor do you need to take up a bunch of room. I don't want to own a lawnmower, yeah. Exactly. You don't need to take up a bunch of room in your garage or in your carport with a lawnmower when you're only going to need it once a week, once every 2 weeks.
Or if you're really lazy, once a month.
The same thing with some of these other things, Why do you have a chainsaw when you only needed it once? Why did you go buy a chainsaw when you only needed it once? So
no, man, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's like there's this book. I haven't read it yet. I heard about it somewhere that I'm trying to see if the library has it first because, I'm trying to cut back on ownership of certain things. But it's called Trekonomics. And it's probably the same thing you're talking about. So once I read it, I'll have to kind of give a little blog or do something, or
I may check out the audiobook. I'm more of an audiobook guy.
Yeah. I haven't seen it yet, but I want to at least with the library. But I'm looking for that. So Trekonomics. But
I bet somebody may have put it on YouTube already, just the audio of it.
Yeah, maybe possibly. Or Audible. I think it's on Audible.
Maybe Audible.
So I'll have to maybe subscribe. But speaking of books, are there any books that you would recommend to whether it be the young wrestler or the young entrepreneur or somebody that wants to get into politics? Do you have any books that you recommend?
Well, there's a couple that really helped me along the way, and one of them is 5 Minute Manager. So that helped me manage time, be able to delegate, be able to trust other people a little bit. Once you realize how you can manage companies in 5 minutes, you can manage a whole lot of other aspects of your life correctly and efficiently. So that's a good one. And then when I got involved in politics, All Politics is Local by Tip O'Neill is an extremely great book. Very, helpful, and it's not a huge book. It's an easy read, but it's an honest portrayal of, how to get in politics and the fact that politics is local. It doesn't matter what office you're running for. If you're not knocking doors, if you're not rubbing elbows with the people who you're going to represent, they have no reason to vote for you. So All Politics are Local, and that really helped to drive it home for me. So those are two books that I highly recommend.
And then getting back really quick, I want to talk about what you think.
Future by Design, Jacques Fresco.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
and I'll list those on the show description. Okay. I want to put those. I picked this up. This guy Tim Ferriss, he says he dissects all these things, and so he's he pays homage. He stole just a lot of things that he likes from podcasts. So
I like Tim Ferriss. I think I like Joe Rogan more.
Yeah,
you listen to Rogan?
I listened to Rogan a little bit,
Yeah.
but I think Tim Ferriss has more things that I can put into play.
Gotcha.
Where I listen to Joe Rogan more for entertainment.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a great podcast, great guest.
Joe Rogan's got me through many, many hours of driving in the dead of the night with some extremely thought-provoking things. He's got such great people on there sometimes. I mean, he's got Dr. Rhonda Patrick. He's got who's the guy that does Cosmos?
Was it Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson. That guy's awesome. So he has people like that on his show.
Yeah, he has some big time names.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool, man. But one quick wrestling question or two of those, and then I have one final question. But it's been fascinating, man. I'm enjoying. I'm going to look into the Phoenix Project.
No, the Venus Project.
Phoenix. I'd have the wrong one. I'd be like, what's Curtis talking about? I'm reading this, and this is some whack.
The Venus Project, resource-based economy. It says beyond politics, war, and poverty.
Okay, interesting. I'll take a look at that. And but looking at WrestleMania, I mean, Undertaker, somebody I've been watching for years. I'm sure you as well.
Absolutely.
But how do you think they handled his? Did they know he was retiring, or that match? It just seemed kind of anticlimactic to me.
I'm sure they knew. I'm sure that that Undertaker felt it was time. I'm sure that Vince knew it was time. It was anticlimactic to me too. I think that I don't want to ruin the match too much if you haven't seen it, but I'm going to expect, considering that it's been out over a week now, that
couple weeks.
a couple weeks. That
by the time this comes out,
most people have heard it, so or have seen it. So at the very beginning of the match, Undertaker knocked Roman Reigns out twice, and he walks over to the ropes and says, "This is my yard," right?
Yeah.
You remember that? So at the end of the match, I thought that
get off my lawn.
Yeah. At the end of the match, I thought that it would have been perfect for Roman Reigns to stay out there. I don't know about Undertaker putting the jacket and a hat back on and doing the whole ceremony, but I thought that it would have been perfect for Roman Reigns to stay out there, Undertaker to grab the microphone, and if he's going to pass the ball, pass it completely and utterly, and walk over to Roman Reigns and be like, now, this is your yard. Mm-hmm. After the two, this is my yard, and then at the end of the match, be like, now, this is your yard.
Yeah.
Protect it. You know, something like that.
Or he
could have brought it full circle.
It was one of those things that it was like the match was going good, then he just start beating the crap out of him, which he's still the Undertaker.
Yeah.
So even though he's going to retire or you know whatnot, or he's passing the torch, it's just like at the end he just got it just like get beat so bad, and it just wasn't. It's just like that's not fitting for the undead, somebody of that stature, you know, this supreme being.
Well, I think the story that they were telling with that is, even though he's the undead, you know, he's still got that human body, and that human body's breaking down. They even put that over. They were like, you know, he has the heart, he has the determination, but his body's not keeping up with him. You know,
but just keep the mythos, and just like, okay, he got beat, and then he's like goes up in flames or disappears, or you know, they put the smoke and he hides under the ring or something, you know. And
but then you would have always had that thought that he could have one more match. Now it's kind of a full circle. It's the end. We got the end. I don't think that he's going to do another match. But if they did something like, you know, the ring got lit from above with a spotlight, and then for, you know, some magical reason Undertaker disappeared, then at any point Undertaker could come back, he could have another match. There could always be that speculation. But now people are like, well, he's done. He's pretty well done.
I mean, because it tears up your body totally, and all the travel.
Absolutely.
And I mean, you find yourself, I mean, one of my sponsors is my buddy Dr. Mark Holland. Do you find yourself like having to get adjustments to the chiropractor, or like getting massages? Well, your wife's
I married a massage therapist
for that reason.
No. It just so happened that's
the extra perk.
That was one of her passions, and it's one of the things that makes us such a great team, is that you know, where I need her help, she helps me. Where she needs my help, I help her. We just mesh, and I always say that Mama didn't raise no fool. I married a massage therapist, but it really had nothing to do with that, man. She could have done anything. And I think she's just starting to transition into art. People are really liking her paintings and her creations, and they're starting to reward her. And she's building her brand as far as that's concerned as well. So,
and so much about brand building. Yeah, building that personal brand. One last question, and once again, thanks for being here. What advice would you give yourself at age 20 or age 30 even?
Slow down. Slow down. I didn't get it until I came back recently. And I mean, my first match was December of 99, and it didn't click until I came back about 3 years ago. So what I was always told was, if you're going slow, go slow. If you feel like you're going slow, go slower. Work smarter, not harder. And none of that clicked until I came back recently. I finally figured out how to work smarter and not harder. I finally figured out how to slow down and make that interaction with the crowd more a part of my personal brand when it comes to the professional wrestling. Because I know how to do all the moves properly. I don't have to do them 10,000 miles a minute. I don't have to be the super athlete that some of these other guys are in order to give a great entertaining show that people are going to pay to come back for over and over and over again. So you're not going to see me doing moonsaults. You're not going to see me doing flips over the ropes and things like that. But you will see me hit an Arn Anderson spine buster like nobody in the St. Louis area, nobody in the Midwest. You will see me, punch somebody directly in the face and, hit things that you might not expect a guy like me to hit, like a jumping, spinning kick or a spin wheel kick, things like that. If anybody knows wrestling, a Trouble in Paradise, I can get up and hit a Trouble in Paradise, and that's
I don't even know what that is.
You start into the guy and you kind of almost do a cartwheel with your legs and bring your foot around and kick him in the forehead. So
right on.
I can do
Google that, everyone.
Elbow drops off the top ropes. I can do missile drop kicks, but I do things like that a whole lot less now because I don't really have to do that in order to get my point across. I used to say, you don't have to hit a guy 10,000 times with a steel chair in order to make that one punch count. So like another guy might want to hit a guy 3 times with a steel chair in order to get a real good effect from that crowd. I'll grab that same guy by the back of the head and ask the crowd, you want it? You want it? You want me to punch him in the face? And I get the crowd going, and then I give them the reward, and then I give them the payoff. So it's all about pacing. It's all about the show. It's all about the show that you're putting on, being mindful of angles, being mindful of what you're doing to the other guy and how it's being perceived from the audience. And it's very much like politics.
Very cool. Well, Curtis Wylde, Wylde for the People. I love that moniker the best.
WYLDE for the people.com.
Well, best of luck to you, man. It was great spending this time, and I know big things are in the future for you, and I know you're going to do a lot of good for the people.
Well, thanks very much, Ken. I love doing it, and it was an honor for me to be on an Emmy Award-winning show, or a show from an Emmy Award winner, I should say. So congratulations on your big win, man.
Thanks, buddy. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Car is running in the driveway. A quarter of a take won't get me very far, but got me back to you.